fluid. That's why, to the question about the chief and his command staff being out on the ground, that's why that's so important, because it is a very fluid situation, and they respond to things that way. And there's many times they're proactive about it and they prevent things, but you have to be there to see it and to feel it in order to be able to make those kind of decisions. So it's just normal, is what we do. Anybody else? Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was a press conference from the Cleveland mayor and Cleveland police regarding safety in Cleveland. Obviously, a lot of attention in Cleveland, given that it is day 3 of the GOP convention. Lots happening. The Democrats this morning responded to the GOP convention, the happenings over the course of the first 2 days. This is what the Democrats had to say.
I appreciate it. Awesome.
All right.
Good morning. After the first 2 days here in Cleveland, the themes of the Republican convention are now crystal clear: attack, lie, and distract. They've settled on this strategy because they have nowhere else to go.
789.
One, because the Republican Party is deeply ambivalent about their party's nominee for president. We've never seen a convention where so many speakers barely mention the name of their candidate. Two, because on a night that was supposed to be about making America work again, there was barely a mention from any speaker of specific plans to create jobs and increase incomes. It's crystal clear that Trump literally has no plan to grow our economy and put Americans to work, and no plan to bring Americans together. And tonight we're certain to hear more offensive rhetoric, because Trump's divisiveness and bigoted policy proposals seem endless and spare very few. So this morning, we'll share a few shameful examples. Trump has called women fat pigs and disgusting. He has said there should be some form of punishment for women who have an abortion. He called pregnancy an inconvenience for employers and said putting a wife to work is a very dangerous thing. And we all remember how he treated Fox reporter Megyn Kelly and the things that he said about her after the debates. He has suggested that we impose a ban on Muslims coming to the United States. Trump released a statement calling for a total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the U.S. with no end date in sight. He also suggested creating a database to track American Muslims, and recently said that no, he is not softening his stance at all. He shared anti-Semitic images on Twitter, and by the way, the Republican Party has so many anti-Semites trolling it that they had to shut down their live chat the other night during the convention while it was going on because of the anti-Semitic rants overrunning their live chat. And Donald Trump mocked a New York Times reporter with a disability. He opposes same-sex marriage, supports religious freedom laws that allow discrimination against LGBT people, and he selected the most extreme anti-LGBT vice presidential candidate in modern history with Governor Pence. Bullying and demeaning people is no way to run a country, but that's exactly what Donald Trump aims to do. And with that, I am thrilled to be joined by our hometown Congresswoman here, my friend, the former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, Marcia Fudge.
Thank you. You're welcome. Thank you very much, and thank you for being here. I was really excited about the fact that the Republicans were coming to Cleveland. I thought it would be great for our city, and it is. I thought that this was an opportunity to showcase who we are as a people, and it is, because you see how we have conducted ourselves as opposed to how they have conducted themselves. We are better than Donald Trump's rhetoric. If I look at that hall every day, I would think we must be in two Americas, one black, one white. There is no diversity. There is nothing going on in that hall that represents me, that represents the people I represent. You would believe that there really are two Americas, one rich, one poor. You would not know that all of us want the same thing. Everybody wants to live in a decent neighborhood. They want to be safe. They want their kids to go to good schools. They want everybody to have a real opportunity to succeed, but you don't hear that from these guys. All you hear is hate. They still believe the president is a Muslim. How stupid is that? They still believe that this country is going down because the president of the United States doesn't do what they want him to do. These are people, in my opinion, who have tainted the entire image of the United States of America. I'm here today with my colleagues because I want to say to you, I trust the only patriot in this race, the person who cares about this country, that doesn't want to divide but wants to bring us together. I don't support bigots, and that is what Donald Trump is. And I will never, as long as I draw breath on this earth, believe that a person like Donald Trump can be the president of the United States. With that, I would give you our chairman, Javier Becerra.
Well, Marcia, thank you very much. And, it's great to be in Cleveland with you. You're right. Great weather, great people, but a really angry, a really bitter people who are speaking. And a really nasty way to tell the people how we're going to come together as one, as the United States of America. To our chairwoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and a colleague in Congress, we thank her for all the work that she's been doing. We know you've been here many times. We know you've been through so many parts of our country so many times. We've seen how people want us to come together. People do want us to be united. And at the end of the day, people do want us to get to work, get things done. But you take a look at what's being said at this convention, and you got to wonder who's going to do it and who are they going to do it for? I got to tell you, I have to agree with Congresswoman Marcia Fudge. I get the sense that this convention really doesn't have doors open to everyone in America, which is kind of scary because there was a time when my father would tell us as a young man he was not welcome to walk through every door in America. The signs outside those restaurants would say no dogs or Mexicans allowed. And so my father, a U.S. citizen, could not walk through the doors of a restaurant. Well, today, because he did what all of us want to do, he married, he and his wife, my mother, worked hard. They played by the rules. They finally got to buy a home. They sent their kids to college, first to go to college. Then they were able to retire in dignity. And guess what? That same man who at a young age could not walk through the doors of a restaurant got to walk through the doors of the White House to take a photograph with the President of the United States. That's a welcoming America. That's the America I believe we're going to hear about next week when we nominate Hillary Rodham Clinton to be President of the United States. But I must tell you, when I hear that the nominee for one of the great parties in America says that a man who gets himself educated, born and raised in Indiana, cannot, after becoming a successful lawyer and then getting the votes in the U.S. Senate to become a U.S. federal judge, cannot rule impartially on behalf of the American people because of his ancestry, because he has Mexican ancestry. When Donald Trump said that about Judge Gonzalo Curiel, I had to wonder, are we going back to those days where my dad could not walk through the doors of a restaurant? That's not the America that we want to see. The speeches that we're hearing don't bring us together, and we certainly can't talk about being a United States of America the more we see that. So I think we're here to say this. What you're hearing on the convention floor, that's not America. You'll hear much about what America is, and by the way, what America looks like next week in Philadelphia. But we're going to be here because there are a whole bunch of Americans who have to walk through a whole bunch of doors. They want to have that first chance to go to college. They want to have that first chance to be professionals. And our chairwoman, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, our congresswoman, Marcia Fudge from the 11th District of Ohio here in Cleveland, working together, united, we can get things done. And we are intent on having a Congress that will work with the next president of the United States, Hillary Rodham Clinton, to get things done for all Americans, not just some, not just those in the convention hall today, all Americans. With that, I'll yield back to our chairwoman.
And as we take questions, if you could just state your name and what outlet you're from.
We have to take questions.
Todd
And just
Gilman.
tell us, yeah.
Yes,
tell us
Todd
who you are.
Gilman, Dallas Morning News.
Yeah.
Can you give me some understanding of how your convention is going to go? There's been a lot of focus on Hillary Clinton here. Is there going to be a lot of focus on Trump in Philadelphia, and how is it going to be different?
Our convention will be unrecognizable compared to the one that you are seeing play out this week, because you will hear speaker after speaker not only extol the virtues of our nominee and how proud we are to be making history, and the history that we're going to be making in Philadelphia by nominating the first woman president of the United States, but you'll also hear speaker after speaker talk about our policy proposals, our vision for America, the fact that we want to make sure that we can continue to build on the progress that we've been able to make after being in the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression that was caused by Republican economic policies that they are waning and waxing nostalgic about, that as the good old days this week, that only looked at the most fortunate few. And you'll hear from our stage that an acknowledgement that people across America may not be feeling like they're standing on the firmest ground, but that we've had 76 months of job growth, that we've added 14.8 million jobs, that 20 million people now have health insurance that didn't before, that we've reduced our deficit, that the auto industry is roaring like it never has before, and after we rescued it when Republicans would have let it go down the tubes. You'll hear tremendous, broad-based positive messaging, policy proposals, extolling the virtues of our candidate, and yes, drawing a dramatic and significant contrast with Donald Trump because it's there.
Let me just add this. What you're going to hear, though, you're going to hear from people who believe in the promise of America. You're going to hear from people at our convention who understand that this is already the greatest nation in the world. You're going to hear from people who understand the fears and the anxiety of the American people and give them a reason to have hope and to believe in what we can do as a people. You're going to hear very different. You're not going to hear the anger. You're not going to hear people who are just talking to hear themselves talk. You're going to hear people who have something to say. It's going to be a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Greg Newman, WKWTV in Madison, Wisconsin. Kind of a two-part question. Speaker Ryan, I know that you probably disagree with him on a lot, but you probably have some respect for him as a professional. Are you surprised to see the 180 he's kind of made on Trump in his speech last night, and also Governor Walker speaking tonight? I guess what do you expect to hear from him?
Well, I mean, we all certainly have respect for our colleague, Speaker Ryan, but it's been painful to watch the process that he's been through to get to that stage last night. I didn't see his entire speech, but from what I did see, he didn't say very much, if anything, about Donald Trump himself. To me, I almost felt badly about how uncomfortable he looked on that stage. And Paul Ryan rarely looks uncomfortable in almost any setting. He's a very confident person, though we don't agree with many of them. What is sad about the Republican Party today, and that we see consistently every single day play out on the floor of the House of Representatives, is that they care more about holding on to power. Individuals in their party, like Speaker Ryan, like Speaker Boehner before him, care more about holding on to power than they do about doing the right thing, or at least attempting to reach across the aisle and work together. We know, and you will hear this over and over again at our convention next week, that we are stronger together. We know that my way or the highway politics doesn't get us where we need to go. We know that there are some good ideas that Republicans have, and that we should sit down across the table from them and hammer out those differences so that we can reach a compromise that can help move us forward. And they have the attitude that everything that Democrats say or do is wrong. And you can point back to what Mitch McConnell said after President Obama was elected, that he was going to make sure, his number one priority at the time was to make sure that Barack Obama was a one-term president. I mean, for the majority leader at the time, minority leader of the United States Senate to say that that was his number one priority tells you all you need to know about the Republicans' priorities.
Can I add one thing
Yeah,
on there?
of course.
Greg, this is the difficulty. Textbook definition of racism. Those were the words that Speaker Paul Ryan used to describe what Donald Trump said about Judge Gurriel. Textbook definition of racism. Then almost in the same breath, he says, and I'm endorsing this guy to be president of the United States. Here's the difficulty. If it's okay to be a racist, what's going to happen once you're president and now you have an opportunity to actually deploy your policies. Who's included and who's not in that America? And we really are stronger as a country when we're together. And that's why we believe with Hillary Clinton, we'll bring everyone in. But it's difficult to understand why a guy who deserves respect because of what he's been able to achieve as now the Speaker of the House of Representatives, second in line to be President of the United States, is willing to endorse a guy who uses words that the Speaker himself describes as being textbook definition of racism. And that's what's hard to swallow, not just for me, but for my dad.
Next question.
Okay. Yes. Hi. Jessica Ralston from ABC6 in Columbus, Ohio, and also representing Sinclair Broadcast Group. Clearly, you're trying to send a positive message today, but specifically about last night. It clearly was about an attack on Hillary Clinton, and I just want a specific response on Chris Christie's basic indictment of her and having the crowd chant guilty, and Ben Carson and the Lucifer comments, and what you have to say about that.
All right, guys. Mike is going to be taking over on News Now. Stay tuned for more News Now.